This episode of Children of the Whales played out exactly as I expected. Just how episode 2 ended off, it was quite easy to see on how this episode would turn out. Now, that isn't to say that this was a bad episode. It definitely, had its moments, but, I mean, when it comes down to the episode, it was just a very simple episode. Very entertaining, but simple. So, within this episode of Children of the Whales, the ship known as Skylos, I believe, who technically has people from Lycos's, tribe, or, wherever her civilization is from, apparently lighting up the entire civilization that remains of the mud whale. And we have a few character deaths in this episode, quite tragic. And that happens to be one of our main characters' best friends, childhood friend, the girl that, obviously had a thing for him, but he was too oblivious to, know her true feelings. A lot of people in this episode in Children of the Whales die, including Lady Taisha, who I believe was a courtesan member on the Mud Whale. I can't remember her exact role on the Mud Whale, but nonetheless, Lady Taisha ends up dying within this episode, along with Chocodo's childhood friend and various other people, including ones who were actually Oni's friends. And to see Oni in this episode go complete berserk over the fact that these people are killing his friends, it was cool to see. I'm not gonna lie, he went full on savage, and I can definitely see why people are probably, probably putting Oni on the pedestal of, potential best character of the whole series that we know of so far, just on how savage he is. And he's pretty blunt too, when it comes down to his overall personality. If he sees something wrong with something, he doesn't take no shits for that. He takes no shits whatsoever. He is like, I am sick and tired of this world. I'm sick of the people on this mud whale who do nothing to fight back, who, have this ideology that peace will resolve everything, which is a good way to look about life and to make amends and actually, try to, have a strong, relationship with other countries and civilizations and such. However, that doesn't really work in today's society. Now, don't get me wrong, peace is something that we should always strive for. However, is it something that is bound to happen in the next year, next couple years, so on and so forth? Most likely not, just due to the differences of other people, cultures, traditions, etc., just on how diverse, humanity is. There is bound to be some complications, and people are not always going to agree, with each other, and this is why we have, world problems to this day. Of course, there are other reasons, but this is one of the reasons why we have these world problems, and I'm glad that, Children of the Whales actually showcased this. And when it came down to the overall upbringing of the people within on the Mud Whale, the reason why I'm talking about this is because the upbringing of the people on the Mud Whale, they were brought up a certain way, and they lived a very peaceful lifestyle amongst everyone, that they know of. However, they had little knowledge as to what remained in the outside world. The only people that really knew what was going on within the outside world were the headmasters, and I believe it was also stated in episode 2 that really, when it comes down to the only people that really know what is actually going on in the outside world is not only the headmasters, the head council, but also everyone who reaches the age of, it was either 61 or 68. Once they reach that age, if they do in fact reach that age, then that is when, everything will eventually spill out amongst, everyone else. And they will know about the political side of things on the Mud Whale as well as the outside world. However, keep in mind, who really doesn't know much about what, goes on in the outside world? The marked. Why is that? Because they have a shorter lifespan than pretty much everyone on the Mud Whale. People who are unmarked and who can actually reach the age of like 61 or what have you, will actually find out, more about this stuff. And to know that this is a civilization that was brought on a peaceful factor, including when it comes down to their self-defense force. Even the people who fight for the people on the Mud Whale try to resolve things over a peaceful, resolve. But the thing is that peace doesn't entirely cut it, especially when it comes down to your whole civilization, and people, on the Mud Whale, the people who are closest to you, are getting axed like that. You're gonna have to fight back at some point. I know, when it comes down to taking a life of another individual is a very big debatable topic, but at the same time, what else do you have at that point? What can you do? So when it came down to that factor of the episode, I personally found that to be very entertaining, and I like it when, anime or just media in general brings up those topics because it gets you thinking. I like series that do that. Even though that this was a simple episode, I still found it very entertaining in that sense. But that's just me personally, So when it comes down to this episode, as I stated before, it was a very simple episode. Pretty much a lot of tragedy happens, Chocoto's friend ends up passing away, Lady Taisha, as well as various other people on the Mud Whale. Originally, Oni wanted to escape the Mud Whale, but knowing the fact that the outside world isn't exactly as to what he expected, because honestly, he thought the outside world was much better than what, where he was residing on, but knowing that the world outside is even dirtier than the, place in which he lives in, it's almost as if he has no clue as to what he truly wants now. And also, by the end of the episode, we even see pretty much the remaining people within on the Mud Whale. They completely change their ways. Their, tradition when someone would pass was that they would pray for them, to go to the land beyond, so to speak, and they would not shed any tears, as a sign of respect. For them, that was their tradition. However, when it came down to what, entailed within this episode, at the very end, they broke that, conduct in which they had and pretty much bawled their eyes out. Every single one on the Mud Whale. And we also figure out that apparently Lycos has a brother and is technically the ringleader in this whole operation of, the people who infiltrated their Mud Whale and pretty much executed everyone on the spot. So Lycos' brother is the ringleader in this whole operation as to what exactly went down. And I'm very curious to learn about him more as a character. So when it comes down to this overall episode, there's definitely some stuff building up, and there was definitely a lot of tragic stuff that happened as well. Now, I'm not exactly sure what's going to entail with the next few episodes to come. Is Chocoto, Lycos, and Oni, eventually going to go forth and try to, resolve the issue at hand in their own way? Because I would not doubt it if, there are going to be characters in this series wanting revenge, as to what exactly happens. So, I don't know. I don't know what to expect, when it comes down to Children of the Whales. But I definitely can say that Children of the Whales is definitely one of the most entertaining shows of the fall 2017 season, and is definitely an interesting one at that. So, if you haven't checked out Children of the Whales yet, I really think you should, because it's pretty entertaining. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought about the episode. Be sure to give this video a like if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.